there's a concept in Judaism called the Jubilee, or it has its origins there, and since then it's been all over the place. Every 49 years, at the end of sabbatical cycle, so 7 times 7, Hebrew slaves and prisoners would be freed, debts would be forgiven, and it says the mercies of God would be particularly manifest. How interesting is that? So it was really focused on large land, property, and property rights. So it's just interesting. It's amazing. Also, jubilees were also like they would coincide quite often with the reign of a new king. A king would take a throne in different parts of the world. He would raise his sacred torch and proclaim a debt amnesty. And the reasons were crazy. It wasn't always just this benevolent thing. It wasn't like they were being nice or utopian. In those times, the economies were very different. Obviously, we're dealing with land and cattle and goat and such. And a lot of times people would be in debt to landowners, and if they didn't handle that debt in a certain amount of time, they would fall into perpetual bondage. It would move from being a debtor to being essentially a slave. And so kings would come in and they would see the only way to kind of free those people from that condition, so that they could live well and not like flee the kingdom and run away, was to declare a debt jubilee. And so that's a really interesting concept that has worked.
It has an awareness in it that these systems were like over time get less and less fair. Like there's a growing inequality, and you have to reset the system. Which is, I guess, an opportunity also to change certain things too. When you hit that reset, I'm also just curious about what lending looked like 3 months before the Jubilee.
Exactly.
So
that's the funny.
This is coming. It's like, hey man, can I borrow? Can you spot me 100?
Exactly. That's the funny part, man. And the 49 every 49 years, and that 48th.
Yeah.
You come in and you be like,
crazy year, man. That last year before the Jubilee would be pretty wild.
Exactly.
Try to get anything done. Because I know everybody out there really just wants to hear that intro to the podcast again. So here it is.
Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast.
There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. And it's perfectly natural to be scared. But this could also be a huge opportunity. And today on the podcast, I wanted to explore that a little bit. Joining us on the show is an investor that invested and made a lot of money during the last 2 recessions. How long do you think it'll take before there may be opportunities out there?
That might start to play itself out, later on, 3-6 months down the line. I mean, it takes a little bit to actually foreclose on a property. So
yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
so
man.
So it's pretty clear here that there's a large class of people who just have a lot of capital and wealth sitting around, and who who have a moral system that allows them to just easily and without much like fear of judgment by some god when they arrive in heaven or anything like that, to just slide into like a shark role in a moment like this and just feed off of the corpses. It's a little too much, but something like that. And so this debt jubilee you're talking about, this reset for me is like is not only to reset the economic system and to reset all these debts and odious situations that people are in, but also a moral reset to be like, whoa, what have we become? Like what's happened to us?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just, again, this situation didn't start a month ago. The situation of people's debts overtaking their abilities to live, and this debt economy overtaking the real economy. People, paying hundreds and thousands of dollars down on like student loans, not then being able to go out to a restaurant, not being able to do cool things they want to do that would feed the economy and other more meaningful like useful ways. And so the whole idea of a debt jubilee, Jesse, is back. People are talking about it again. People were always talking about it. People were talking about it back in 2006. I was seeing that on YouTube and these campaigns and efforts. But in 2019, 2020, things have gotten bad that it's out there in the mainstream as a conversation for something to do to like help people right now.